Welcome on back into the channel. It's Kai Jade, of course, and I am Kai Jade. And for this episode, we're going to take a look and see, will Nicki Minaj be on the hook for $20 million for her husband's rape victim? As you all may have possibly read, or if you haven't read, then here's the deal. A default judgment has been submitted to the court by Jennifer Hough's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, in this case between Nicki Minaj and her husband, Kenneth Petty. Now, Nicki Minaj is involved in this case because the plaintiff, Jennifer Hough, in this particular situation, who was raped by Nicki Minaj's husband in 1994, which it was admitted to. He also did time in prison based off of taking a plea deal for that charge. Now, Nicki Minaj comes into place because Jennifer Hough states that Nicki Minaj has sent her team after her for witness intimidation to get her to drop the charges against her husband so that he doesn't have to continue to file as a sex offender because of the fact that he raped her at the time that he did in 1994. He is on the hook for registering as long as he is supposed to based on the court, and he recently didn't register like he was supposed to, so now he will be going to trial as he pled guilty for not registering in the state of California. So yes, we'll get into it. And we also see that there was a response from Nicki Minaj's attorney, despite the fact that they said there wasn't one, but I did find somewhat of a document from the attorney, but yeah, we're going to get into it, so stick around. So according to the Daily Beast article from October the 14th, it is stated that Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty's harassment and witness intimidation case just took a different turn. Like I said before, Jennifer Hough, who Petty was convicted of sexually assaulting in 1995, she is now requesting a $20 million default judgment in this particular case. A lot of it has to deal with her seeking damages from the emotional distress that she has incurred, not just based off of the sexual assault, but also over the fact that she's had to move several times because she states that Nicki Minaj, as well as her husband, Kenneth Petty, have been sending people to her house. They also showed up at a particular party that her oldest daughter was attending in Georgia, and they were asking the oldest daughter if she knew who Nicki Minaj's husband was, as well as a childhood friend that was being sent to Jennifer Hough to get her to sign affidavits or get her to sign documents saying that she's going to recant her initial statements or recant the whole case so that it goes in Kenneth Petty's favor. It is a lot based off of the original complaint that was probably over 25 pages, but the gist of it goes over the facts in terms of what happened back in 1994. And of course, that part separately is just about Kenneth Petty. At the time, I believe Nicki Minaj would have been like maybe 13 or 14. I don't remember. I didn't do the math exactly, but either way, she would have been quite young at that time and probably had no idea who Jennifer Hough was or even who Kenneth Petty was, or AKA Zoo, as they call him in the neighborhood back in New York. Okay. But anyway, so then later on down in the original complaint, Jennifer Hough talks about how Nicki Minaj is on the hook about this because she stated about the fact of her talking on the phone to Nicki Minaj and about how she's supposed to give her family is supposed to get flown out, and then one of the childhood friends came to her who was trying to get her to drop the initial charges, saying that, hey, if you drop the original charges, I pretty much can get Nicki Minaj to record a video for your daughter and she'll be telling her happy birthday. So that's where the bribery comes into place as well. Okay, so like I said, not just damages, she's suing for like it says, witness intimidation and harassment as well, because she did have to move around 3 different times to 3 different places. Okay. But anyway, moving on to the rest of the article. Okay. Now, of course, Hough's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, says that he received an email Thursday night from Nicki Minaj's attorney, Judd Bernstein. Now, of course, the reason why the default judgment was submitted to court is because Jennifer's attorney stated that it was past the time that Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty was supposed to respond to the initial complaint. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's 21 days from whenever the initial complaint is served or filed. Okay, again, I do have documents here from her attorneys where it states how the whole thing went down, and it also goes into saying that Nicki Minaj was never really served and it was served to somebody else. It's just confusion. But anyway, so the Daily Beast article also went into detail about the fact that Nicki Minaj's attorney, Bernstein, requested that Blackburn withdraw the petition, and they wanted him to grant an extension so that they can respond to the case or respond to the alleged complaint, which in turn he said no. Verbatim, I said no, Blackburn told the Daily Beast in an email. Okay, I told him to prepare his opposition to my request for default judgment and explain to the court why his client and her husband believe they are above the law. Again, for a small rundown of the case, like I said, Petty was convicted of first-degree attempted rape back in 1995, which he denied the charges. However, he ended up taking a plea deal. At that point, he admitted to it once he took the plea deal. Okay, regardless of whatever went down. Okay, I was barely alive during that time. But anyway, so Huff, who was identified anonymously in the original case due to her age, like I said, at that time she may have been 14 or 15, somewhere around there, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. Okay, now according to the Daily Beast, as well as the original complaint, Huff alleged that associates of the couple had begun pressuring her to recant her sexual assault claims after Petty missed the deadline to register as a sex offender in the state of California. And this is important because, when he registers as a sex offender, that also can block you from living in certain neighborhoods, from having, access to certain things, because of course you're on that particular registry. So in this particular situation, we could assume that he did not register, or he pretty much just refused to register, because that could have definitely had an effect on where they lived in California. And I'm not sure exactly if they live in Los Angeles, but at this point, it doesn't matter. He didn't register like he was supposed to once he moved from New York to California. And I think the info is that he may possibly be Nicki Minaj's manager. I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate, but it doesn't matter. Moving on. Okay. Now, continuing, Huff said she had been forced to move 3 times, like I talked about before, out of fear for her safety. In the final time to another state after a series of attempted bribes and threats. Okay. At that point, she stated it became impossible for her to know who to trust. And because of this, and because of all the moving and things like that, that's whenever the lawsuit took place, where she sued the Pettys in August for intentional infliction of emotional distress, harassment, and witness intimidation. Okay. Also, Huff went on the show, The Real, where she talked about her experiences, and that this would have been her first televised appearance. Now, there have been other reports or other things about Huff doing YouTube interviews. I don't know if maybe there was I think I saw somebody say something about Nosy Ho. I'm not sure, but I see that channel no longer exists because of things that have been drama that's been going around her channel. So it's kind of hard to find the interview. Maybe if I do some more digging and not be lazy, then I could find it, but it doesn't matter. Okay. Now, whenever Huff was on The Real, that's whenever she discussed, as well as Blackburn being there, they discussed about the case and the fallout about it, as well as the new charges, as she pretty much went into detail, not extreme detail, but she went into detail about what was the purpose of her bringing this lawsuit, etc., etc. Of course, in the original complaint that was submitted to the court, there are more details, the exact details of what happened, which it will be pretty graphic based off of her recount of those events, which I will not be repeating. So if you want to look up the original documents for the lawsuit, then you go right ahead. Okay. But anyway, so moving on to what I was talking about, the response from Nicki Minaj's attorney. Okay, so with this being said, the attorney did make an argument in the court documents stating that the default judgment had not even been filed with the clerk of the court, okay, until this whole fallout happened about, I think they put it into context about there wasn't a default judgment submitted to the clerk of the court until the Daily Beast article came out, and then boom, the default judgment was submitted. Okay, so to them, well, to their attorney, the attorney is saying that the only reason why Nicki Minaj is involved in this particular lawsuit is because of her quote unquote deep pocket. Okay, as well as the attorney says that the plaintiff's attorney or counsel is only doing this in an effort to garner media attention for himself. Okay, again, that is alleged, but that is based off of what was put in the particular document. Now, back to the affidavit of service filed by the plaintiff. Okay, they state that the defendant was served. The defendant in this case would be, of course, Kenneth Petty and Nicki Minaj, or Onika Mirage Petty, I think. But anyway, they said that the defendant was served via personal service of a copy of the summons and complaint upon her husband, who the server described him as a black male, 40 years old, 200 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. However, the defendant has executed a sworn declaration in which she states that the process server is not telling the truth, as this never happened. In fact, my husband is approximately 5'9", weighs no more than 175 pounds. Further, there is no person who resides in our house or who was present there on September 15th, 2021, when the original summons was served, even though somebody took the summons. So not sure if it was a bodyguard, which based off of those measurements, it may have definitely been a bodyguard. I mean, come on, 200 pounds, probably 5 now. And so that probably would check out that it could have been a bodyguard. However, we don't necessarily know if in court this is going to uphold in terms of her trying to plead ignorance, like, well, it was a bodyguard or it was such and such. Okay. Even though her lawyer is pretty much saying that how could they possibly respond to the complaint if they weren't properly served? That was based off of what the lawyer responded to. Now, this is after the fact, because this response was done October the 11th, which would have been 5 days after they should have responded. Okay, so we have two things going on here. Number one, obviously, the lawyer on the defendant's team, which would be the Pettys or Nicki Minaj, did not obviously take this complaint seriously because they waited till 5 days after the fact, even though they tried to send an email to Blackburn to get an extension granted. However, if I'm not mistaken, I am not a lawyer. I am assuming that extension has to possibly go through the judge. Okay, I'm not sure how that goes whenever you try to go to the other counsel for an extension, which wouldn't make any sense because the judge has to be the one that has to grant that extension anyway. So that didn't happen. So obviously, Nicki Minaj's attorneys is saying this pretty much is just a ploy or a circus because she has deep pockets and it will get Blackburn, who is Huff's counsel, the attention that he's looking for. And there also has been speculation in terms of if Blackburn even filed this case in the correct state. I don't know how that ties into this particular situation because the sexual assault happened in New York. And unfortunately, I lost the original. I didn't lose it, but I deleted the original documents because, spring cleaning. But the Pettys live in California, so I'm assuming they're thinking that the lawsuit should have been filed in California, but it was filed in New York. Yes, it's coming back. It was filed in New York. So I'm not exactly sure how that goes when it comes to jurisdictions, but either way, okay, that pretty much is the rundown for this particular situation when it pertains to Jennifer Hough versus Nicki Minaj and her husband, Kenneth Petty, which I have had questions myself if they were even married, but even her own attorney does confirm in the court documents that Petty is her husband. Okay, I've definitely been, wondering, are they really married or not? But obviously, according to the attorney, they are. But again, still can't plead ignorance. And based off of the facts in the original complaint, there also was info in there about Hough and her attorney saying that the U.S. Marshals actually confirmed that it was Nicki Minaj's number that was calling Hough and harassing her. Again, this has not went to trial, so nor do I think actual discovery has been done. So there's still a lot to unpack, and this may take a long time. So this is just the beginning. But anyway, I'm off of it. Thank you so much for listening in to today's episode. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more from me, and I'll see you later.